This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Something unexpected happened after Jeremy Scott confessed to killing Michelle Schofield in Bone Valley Season 1.
Every time I hear about my dad, it's, oh, he's a killer. He's just straight evil.
I was becoming the bridge between Jeremy Scott and the son he'd never known.
At the end of the day, I'm literally a son of a killer.
Listen to new episodes of Bone Valley Season 2 starting April 9th on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And boom!
Common man, no show prep, no solid plan. Spins a yarn, begins a tale. Yes, a daring approach won't fail. Tune in, it's time for Common Man. Common man, charge the housewives like no one can. What you shoot, where we play. Non-stop nonsense on deck today. Tune in, it's time for Common Man.
Why should anybody aspire to be a common man, an average man? Do you realize what it means to be average? That means you're the best of the lousiest, and the lousiest of the best. Now, if we demand more and more for producing less and less, while the have-not nations encourage and inspire and indeed require hard work and maximum effort, if we deify the common men while they encourage and reward the uncommon ones, well, the end result of such a lopsided race as that is too obvious to require elaboration.
I mean, it's like, wow. Well, you live by the dog, you die by the dog.
We'll head to Buffalo, play on the road. I think the weather, of course, having spent a lot of time in Minnesota, I understand the weather pattern. Pick up the Calcutta Clipper, swings down, swings up, lakefront influence, and out. I think we'll probably have about 45-degree weather, so it will not be a typical October 31st in Buffalo.
He's a rube.
Let's go.
Hello. Okay, hold on.
I've seen enough out of Cousins, Paul. Put him on ice.
I'm going to say something controversial. Excellent.
I'm unlimited, Mr. Unlimited.
Let's play! What do you think of my defense now?
You say?
A whole lot of cash. I just want to say, you doubted us, but now we're here.
He's the clown from Brown. He's the fourth in the North. This is the Common Man, Dan Cole.
As late as I just walked into the studio because I lost track of time, you're probably thinking, why don't you look at that watch that you wear, right? Because I wear a watch and I have a phone. They both have time. One's a timepiece. That's what it's strictly for. My other's a handheld computer, which now I'm sitting in PA's chair. I don't like sitting in that chair. Which chair do you like in here, Teneby? Do you like the one with the rounded
I definitely don't like the one PA does.
No, I don't like that one.
I need them to go up as high as they can.
Yeah.
Even today at my desk, I went to go sit in my chair, and I could tell, like, a Goldilocks had sat in my chair.
Oh, really?
Because the chair had been lowered from what I'm accustomed to it being. So somebody sat in my chair and changed it.
I wonder who said that. You know what you could do? This has been done here before. You could look at security footage
I can sit in my own chair, okay?
One of the greatest stories of all time. I don't think we've ever publicly gone with it. We probably shouldn't.
No, you probably should. We could tell the story without saying who it was.
Yeah, well, we should we tell the story?
That's one of my favorites.
Should we tell the story without saying who it is? It's the same typical stuff where I say a former employee, I do the bracket ones. Well, so this is just so good. Somebody had gifted me a dozen Pro V1's.
Those are golf balls for people that are not familiar with golf.
Yeah, Titleist Pro V1's.
The nice ones.
The nice ones. They're. By the way, Tennessee, did you know that a $5 Pro V1 sinks to the bottom of the pond at the same rate of speed a 75-cent Pinnacle does?
I'm very well aware.
Yeah, that's why I always carry a couple Pinnacles in my bag, because if it's going bad and I gotta, I'm teeing off on a forced carry hole. Sorry, I'm not knocking a $5 Pro V1. And you could say, well, that's just it's. Some people would say, well, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because you don't trust yourself. You're already saying, I think I'm going to hit it poorly. That's why you've changed balls. No, I'm just financially, I'm smarter than I used to be. Oh, there's a great story. So are you familiar with, I'm really bad with names. He was born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, died, and was buried. He descended into hell, and the third day he rose again from the dead. He sitteth upon the right hand of God the Father Almighty and comes to judge the quick and the dead.
Oh, Jesus.
Jesus apparently walked on water. You know the legendary story. I don't know which book of the Bible it's from, but he walked on water. Okay. So I used to go to a Bible camp back when I was a youngster in my elementary school days and early junior high, right? It's called Faith Haven. It's up in Battle Lake, Minnesota on Eagle Lake, the town of Battle Lake on the outskirts, but the lake is Eagle Lake. And it's just a really cool place to go. We used to have fun. You'd go there, and for a week you would swim in the lake and play volleyball and play softball and play capture the flag and do Bible study, right? Really cool. Just some of the best times of my life. Well, one of the camp counselors, you had camp counselors that weren't much older than we were, right? We were, like I say, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old. These were all in their late teens, right? And there was one guy that had such a belief in God. He said, I'm going to go down to the lake tonight when everybody's asleep. I want you to come with me, and I'm going to attempt to walk on water because I have that much faith in God. So they went down to the dock, and as the story goes, he must not have had quite enough faith because before he went to walk on water, he took his shoes off. And he sank like a rock to the bottom. Now, even had he taken his shoes off, it kept them on, because having complete, because I guess that showed he had some doubt in his mind, right? If he's taking his shoes off, he didn't want to get his shoes wet. Why was I bringing that up?
I don't know. You're going to tell the golf ball story.
Yeah. What did the golf ball story have to do with?
The golf ball sinks to the bottom of the lake.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah. Okay, that's the reason I got sidetracked. Okay, so anyway. So that was on a Friday. I leave here, and I come back on Monday. I'm like, oh, man, I left those golf balls in the studio. Well, they were gone. And when we got back on Monday, and we asked everybody that was in on the weekend and who was there on Friday and who was there Monday, again, it was, from Friday afternoon till a Monday afternoon. So could have been anybody, right?
Sure.
Anybody
lots of shows, lots of people coming through.
Exactly, because there was the show that followed me. Then there was all the weekend shows. And then there was the show, and the morning show on Monday, the midday show, and then me. So it could have been a lot of different people. There's probably 20 different suspects, right? They all denied it, never took it. So then
we asked each one.
Yeah, and then you should have been a private detective. If you wouldn't have been bridge producer, I think private detective would have been your career, because you and former engineer guy went back and looked at all the we have those security cameras. Do they aren't they like motion detectors? They only click if somebody walks
I don't know if it's changed now, but at the time it would record whenever there was motion of some sort. So anytime a person walked through, you could see that. So we wouldn't be able to, we couldn't watch all 48 hours or 72 hours at any moment. But whenever someone shows up, so we went through every single one.
And then what did you discover in that?
One of the people who was my top suspect to begin with.
Right.
Though that person denied it.
Right.
Which leads to another story. We saw this person carrying something out
tucked under
his arm, and you could tell, the gold band on the Pro V1 box. You could see it. But the best part is we originally had just asked everyone individually.
Yeah.
I think Gerdsey might have been there at the time too.
Yeah. I think we were real Gerdsey. He was my main
suspect. At the time, like, we were just having fun with it, right?
Right.
And this one person seemed like so insulted that we asked him that it almost like made the lights go off a little bit, because this person goes, Tenna, I can afford my own golf balls.
Yeah.
And then that ended up being the person that...
and then their comeback was, well, I thought that was the free table.
After they've been busted.
Right, after they've been busted. No, the free table's in the cafeteria. This is not the free table. And then it was something about some family member or friend or something ran a charity event, and I was going to bring it for a prize.
Yeah.
Just say you saw them there and you said, hey, they were left behind. And there's finders, keepers, losers, weepers.
And we had a chance for them to come clear right away where nobody would have been upset. And they could, it could have been an accident. And they lied about it. And I can afford my own golf.
And did you know I've never brought it up to that person? Because
it's embarrassing.
It makes me uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't want to go up and go, hey, remember that? I just let it go. It's so good, though.
You got it back, though.
I did get them back.
Yeah. They were returned.
They're all gone now, because this was about 10, 12 years ago.
They're at the bottom of a pond.
Yeah, they're at the bottom of a pond somewhere. This was 10, 12, even 15. I don't remember. It was for sure 10 years ago, if not more.
At least, yeah.
At least 10, probably 15 years ago. I don't even know if that person's still associated with us anymore, because I'm never here except between noon and 3. So, but, yeah, it was a beautiful thing is what it was. So, now you got to hear this one. So, and the morning show is going to end up catching wind of this, because I told Sauce all about it. So, on Thursday, as Rosen was leaving, he goes, what if I get a selfie with Bob Dylan? He thought he was going to get a chance to get a selfie with that, because his mom and dad knew him. And I kind of went, okay. So I texted him on Saturday morning. I go, well, did you get a selfie with Bob Dylan? He goes, ha. They wouldn't allow cell phones in there. You had to put them in some kind of there's a name of a bag. I saw it in the story.
I've done that once, yeah.
What kind of a bag is it? So they make you turn it over to them, and
the only time I ever had that happen was I went to Chris Rock's show at Mystic Lake.
Okay.
Probably like 5-6 years ago, whenever that was. And that's what they did. I had to put my cell phone into a bag, and then I couldn't have my phone.
And they keep the bag, and then you go back and
you go back and get the bag after.
It's almost like a coat check.
Yeah.
It's phone check as well.
It's phone check.
So, and I didn't know what I could just see Rosen walking up to some big, 280-pound security guy going, hey, would you tell Bob that Mark Rosen's here? I'd like to get a picture with him.
I always love that one.
I mean, I think Dylan might be one of the most reclusive people, I think. I mean, I don't remember seeing a lot of selfies out there, Bob Dylan.
No.
I don't think Bob does that. I don't think he takes pictures.
Well, clearly they won't allow phones even at his concert.
Exactly. So,
which I would like to go to a concert like that. It would be kind of refreshing to have everyone actually paying attention to the show and not sticking their phones up while you're trying to watch it.
And I would be a fraud to suggest that I've not done that. I have. I think I told you this. It was at Treasure Island, the TI, where they have the Power Trip takeover.
The Power Trip.
And it was Boy George from Culture Club. This was about 10 years ago. So I told my wife, I played when I was playing Culture Club songs when they were first being released. He was taking the country by storm. So I said, well, I got to go see him, right? And I was like from me to you away from him. And I got a picture of him. I took a snapshot of him, and he's looking right at me, too. And so I did do the old camera at the concert thing, which I'm not a big fan of, but he was 20 feet away, 20, 30, maybe a little further than me. So. Anyway, there's plenty to get to today. Don't need to spin the Wheel of Topic. It wasn't worth it. It was yesterday anyways. Wheel of Topic will be coming back with a vengeance late this week, I believe. But we got plenty to get to. Final four tonight, Tennessee. The Twins lose again. Your Wild Club.
Big one yesterday.
I'm starting to believe in this club. And I've got something controversial to say about Ovi's what number was it? 850?
895, I think.
895. I got something controversial to say about it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that and so much more to get to here on the Common Man program on The Fan.
Something unexpected happened after Jeremy Scott confessed to killing Michelle Schofield in Bone Valley Season 1.
I just knew him as a kid.
Long, silent voices from his past came forward.
and he was just staring at me.
And they had secrets of their own to share.
Gilbert King. I'm the son of Jeremy Lynn Scott.
I was no longer just telling the story. I was part of it.
Every time I hear about my dad, is, oh, he's a killer. He's just straight evil.
I was becoming the bridge between a killer and the son he'd never known.
If the cops and everything would have done their job properly, my dad would have been in jail. I would have never existed.
I never expected to find myself in this place. Now, I need to tell you how I got here.
At the end of the day, I'm literally a son of a killer.
Bone Valley, Season 2. Jeremy.
Jeremy, I want to tell you something.
Listen to new episodes of Bone Valley Season 2 starting April 9th on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And to hear the entire new season ad-free with exclusive content starting April 9th, subscribe to Lava for Good Plus on Apple Podcasts.
Fan.
Minneapolis, get ready for a night of pure magic with Bill Murray and his Blood Brothers. It's happening on April 10th at the Orpheum Theater. Don't miss out. Enter your chance to win tickets now. KFAN.com keyword contest.
Hey, comment here with Peek at the Purple. I don't think, is there anything purple related to me? Because I could just shift gears easily and make it Peek at the women's NCAA, Peek at the men's NCAA, or Peek at Ovi. Affordable Electric, your old home specialist. Affordable Electric is familiar with old wiring like knob to tube, cloth-covered wiring, aluminum, and older fuse boxes. They understand the limitations, potential safety concerns. They can thoroughly inspect older homes' electrical systems and assess the condition, identify potential hazards, and recommend necessary upgrades or replacements if you need so. If you have any kind of electrical issue, go ahead and reach out today. Affordable-electric.com. Affordable-electric.com. Affordable Electric is shockingly affordable. Any Viking stuff at all?
Yeah, usually when you ask that, and I can't think of anything off the top of my head, I just go to Kevin Seifert's Twitter.
Right.
Or Ben Gessling's Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
See if and really nothing. Other than apparently J.J. McCarthy's favorite phrase made an appearance in the season finale of White Lotus. So that's the Vikings news we got for you.
I heard over in the we have our sales staff, they're separated, men and women. Have you noticed that? Women on one side, men on the other. You ever notice that?
I mean, I knew there was kind of that group of women.
Yeah, but they're all right by you and I because I'm the Radio Romeo,
yeah.
And you and I are attached at the hip basically because we have the same show. And the guys are on the other side. They're all close by, but it's like it's two little,
Yeah, it's like a junior high dance.
Yeah, it's like a junior. Wait, hold on. I like that. I'm going to give you a shot for that. And I heard them talking about White Lotus. What's the big deal about White Lotus? Is that the show? Every year there seems to be a show. Breaking Bad was the show you were supposed to watch forever. White Lotus.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. There's always some show. Are you a big White Lotus guy?
I've not seen an episode. I'm not a big television guy in general.
Yeah, I'm not either. Just doesn't do anything for me. So
sure, Corey Cove, if he's listening, could call in and tell us all about it.
I'm sure he would know all. I think, doesn't he try to distance himself now from that stereotype that I think is true, right? Because that's all he does is watch TV.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I really don't watch that much TV.
Yeah.
Well, what are you doing then? I'm not sure. He's never told us, I don't think, but to each his own. Ovi scored his 895th goal. He breaks Gretzky's record. Wayne was there. Was Wayne following him everywhere he went?
He was following him around.
Wayne probably doesn't have a real job and doesn't need one, right? So he can travel around.
He does. He does do analyst work for TNT nationally. For the he's basically like the they have the hockey version of Charles Barkley and Kenny the Jet and Shaq. And
are they as funny on the hockey one as they are on the basketball one?
It's actually gotten a lot better than what we've once had.
Okay.
Yes, Bissonnette does a really good job. He's kind of like your Charles Barkley.
Okay.
So compared to where we have in terms of hockey analysis in the past, I think it's as close as you can get to the Barkley crew. But Gretzky's not full time all the time with those, and obviously he can pick and choose his schedule. Whenever Wayne wants to show up, that's when you just take him.
He's the great one. The great one can do whatever.
But he was following him around because he even made comments when he was talking to the media the last couple of days of, hey, Gordie Howe did it for me. Gordie Howe showed up to wherever I was going, so I was going to pass that back down, and I was going to be there for I want to be the first to shake Alex's hand.
Gordie is third on that list, right?
Yep.
Did he Now, he played until he was like 95 years old, I think.
He played a lot of years.
I mean, he was playing with his sons in some, it wasn't the USHL, but something, wasn't there like it was what the St. Paul Saints
like
used
the
to.
WHL?
Yeah, it was a WHL. And so I'm assuming those goals counted in his total. I just wonder, he must have played more games than Gretzky, right? Just because of...
So Gordy played 1,767. Both Ovechkin and Gretzky right now are at 1,487.
Yeah.
And then Yager's fourth on the list. He played over 1,700 as well.
And I think a lot of Howe's, though, were in that when he probably just wasn't the same player anymore. Because I think it was his bit to try to play in every decade for the longest time. I think he literally played pro hockey. And he may have just suited up for a game or two, but didn't he play like into when he was 60 years old? I'm almost certain I remember that, or maybe I'm making this whole thing up. But I thought it was that kind of thing where he hung on. He was retired, but he came back and he would sign and he'd go play so he could play in the 60th decade of his life, or the 6th decade of his life, right? But Ovi gets to 895.
Gordy played 80 games for the Hartford Whalers, 1979, 1980. He was 51 years old.
Okay, 51. Maybe he
put up 41 points at the age of 51.
Did he really? That's astonishing.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
He also made the All-Star game that year.
Yeah, maybe he didn't play until I thought he played until he was 60.
He played in the NHL until he was 42.
Okay.
But then he played in the WHA and then came back for 1 year with Hartford for that season. Like I said, he had 15 goals, 26 assists.
Think about it, Gordy. That's why I still think he's the greatest. But Louis, who knows hockey, and Louis, Howe would have been in that same era. I mean, Howe started before Louis, but they played against each other. I'm almost certain. And I thought Louis would agree with me. He was back in Abbott's office one day, and I go, this Wayne Gretzky's the greatest of all time. I said, Gordie Howe, don't you think? He goes, it's Gretzky. That's what even Louis said. I'll still, you know me, I like being a gadfly, and I like to be different. So, and I think I've done a fairly good job accomplishing that. I still think Gordie Howe, because Gordy could play offense, defense, and special teams. And, Gretzky didn't play much defense. Didn't need to. So, greatest score of all time is obviously Gretzky with a bullet, right? Because isn't there that stat I read again that you brought up a couple times? He has more assists
than anyone else has points.
Than anyone else has points, because you get points for goals and assists. So he's obviously was in a league of his own. I did not see the goal live. I watched it on a little video clip on my handheld computer, which doubles as a communication. It'll shock you. I wasn't watching the game live. The goalie didn't even make an effort to stop it. He wanted the goal to be scored on him. He knew it was going to happen eventually. Who was the goalie's name?
Well, he was Russian.
Yeah.
It's Sorokin. Yeah.
Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? He didn't even make an effort to stop it. And you and I we butted heads on this.
Brett Favre did? Is that what you're saying?
We're in different camps on this one. I told you that if I was Hank Aaron, Al Downing gave up 715 to Hank Aaron. That was obviously baseball had a larger impact on American society than hockey ever did or ever will, right? I remember when Aaron was chasing, he's going to break. I mean, Ruth's record was set. When was Ruth's last season? When did he hit 714? In the 30s, right? So it was 1975, I believe, when Hank Aaron, it took that many years for somebody to surpass Ruth in the all-time home run record. Every night, didn't matter what you were, and I think I remember this correctly. I could be just making up as I go along, but who cares, right? I make stuff up all the time. TV, they wouldn't break in and show the entire at-bat, but in the corner of the screen, they would show Hank Aaron.
Sure.
He's at the plate everybody wanted to see the historic moment. I think Al Downing grooved it for him, and if he didn't, I would have. If I'm on the mound, and I'm looking and I'm going, there's Hank, and he's about to get 715, I want my name linked with that, because it's not going to change what people, it's not like it's going to cost me money, I'm going to get traded, I'm going to get cut. But when they show that highlight, I'm going to be right there, and he's going to get it eventually. I'm grooving it right down the middle. I would have done. I know you said you wouldn't.
No.
I think goaltender guy let it go by. I don't think he had any intention of
He's a fellow Ruski.
Fellow Ruski.
Yeah.
And so he did that. And then what I did I read the night before when he tied it, the other team pulled their goalie right, and he said, they asked him, do you want to be out on the ice? He said, I'm not going to do it with an empty net, which I respect.
Yes.
I don't want to do an empty netter.
No. You want to beat the goalie.
You want to beat the goalie on it. And it wasn't like, of course, if he would have suffered a career-ending injury, then that would have been a whole different thing. Though, now, would you have done... Now, all right, let's talk about career-ending injuries. This happened in high school basketball. It happened with Eastridge one time. One of the kids on the team had missed the entire senior year with some kind of... he had a bad knee injury, right? So he never played, right? Last game of the season, they put him in the game at the very beginning, and the other team let him score a basket, and then we let them get one on the other end, just so his name could be in there. I like that. Do you? I think that's a nice touch.
I witnessed a Mounds View girls basketball game against, I believe, Woodbury, your squad. A couple months ago, they did the exact same.
I'm an Eastridge guy. Be careful.
It was
Woodbury.
It was senior night, so the senior gal for Mounds View, who hadn't played all year because she had a leg injury of some sort, they did the exact same. They let her out on the court. She got a basket. The other they let Woodbury get the basket first.
Okay.
And then she scored the basket, and then she got pulled from the game. And
it's emotional. I teared up. I thought it was the coolest thing ever because, so in other words, let's say Ovi would have suffered a career-ending injury at 895. No, 895 broke it at 894. Do you put him out there? He's got a walker and a stick, and you just let him shoot one in. I don't think he'd want it that way.
No.
For the record, I don't think he would. But there you go. Our look at Ovi brought to you by Affordable Electric. If you need electrical needs, they're your old home specialist. Go to affordable-electric.com. Affordable-electric.com. Let's talk some Final Four. I'm a big Houston Cougars guy, and I'll explain why other side of the break. Common Man program on the Fan.
Something unexpected happened after Jeremy Scott confessed to killing Michelle Schofield in Bone Valley Season 1.
I just knew him as a kid.
Long, silent voices from his past came forward.
And he was just staring at me.
And they had secrets of their own to share.
Gilbert King. I'm the son of Jeremy Lynn Scott.
I was no longer just telling the story. I was part of it.
Every time I hear about my dad, it's, he's a killer. He's just straight evil.
I was becoming the bridge between a killer and the son he'd never known.
If the cops and everything would have done their job properly, my dad would have been in jail. I would have never existed.
I never expected to find myself in this place. Now, I need to tell you how I got here.
At the end of the day, I'm literally a son of a killer.
Bone Valley, Season 2. Jeremy.
Jeremy, I want to tell you something.
Listen to new episodes of Bone Valley Season 2 starting April 9th on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And to hear the entire new season ad-free with exclusive content starting April 9th, subscribe to Lava for Good Plus on Apple Podcasts.
Come hang with Bumper to Bumper's Justin Guard at Tom's Watch Bar in Minneapolis this Thursday at 8:30 for a KFAN Wolves watch party. We'll have Timberwolves versus Grizzlies live on the big screens, delicious food and drinks, and your chance to secure exclusive KFAN swag and a chance to qualify for Wolves season finale tickets. Get all the details now at KFAN.com. Keep your calendar.
That's the big one, the Wolves and the Grizz. The Grizz, I think I'm going to lose my bet to Rosen, I think, because I said the bet I made was they're going to be in the play-in.
Yep.
It doesn't look like they're...
But right now, they're still technically in there.
Yes, but they could jump all the way to third, I think, right? Aren't they only like a game and a half behind the Lakers?
It's as close as you will ever see a group of like 5 teams ever.
Exactly. So I'll probably... I hope Power Trip Bets was listening because I don't remember. I've got like a whole array of... I'm becoming a gambleaholic. I've got like 3-4 different bets with Rosen right now.
Well, you won your Houston bet. Houston over Duke.
Oh, yes. I did. How much was that for? Do we remember?
I thought... I think it said $3 when I saw the bet from Power Trip Bets.
And,
you won $3.
And so I'm 3 up on Rosen. Here's what I'll tell you. I'm glad you brought that up. A national championship game tonight. I watched both. By the way, someone sent this text in, and it's worth reading. It says common, and then it's got in parentheses, I'm not into TV either. Now, shush, Angel and Rocky are going at it again, meaning Rockford Files. Yeah, but I'm not into TV like other people. I watch that show. I watch a couple of wildlife shows, and then a handful of sporting events. It's not like every night. There are most weeks our TV never gets turned on during the weekday. Never even gets turned on. I just don't. I'd rather read. Oh my gosh! I'd rather spend time talking to my lovely wife, Potato. Oh, finished a crossword puzzle yesterday with some help from Potato. Fish Wrap Factory, West Side. My wife always goes shopping on Sunday and gets me a Fish Wrap West Side because it's got the variety section on Sunday has the Sunday New York Times crossword puzzle, which I don't even try doing. Then they have another one like something Syndicate, and that one's like, that's dumbed down for people like me. Those still can be very difficult. I'll sometimes go and I'll get 13, 14 clues, and that's it. I had to have my wife help me with a couple. I handed it to her. I had like 8 clues I didn't get. She got like 4 of them or 5 of them, and then that opened it up where I finished it this morning. I'm just so proud of myself. I'd rather do that than watch White Locust. No, what's it called?
White Lotus?
White Lotus. I thought it was White Locust. White Lotus. I would just rather watch that. I watched both Final Four games, and they were both really good. Florida beat Chuck's Auburn club. Auburn had a 9-point lead at the half. And Florida came out. I'm going to go with it. Tennessee, they tried harder. They did. The Wolves, Auburn turned into the Minnesota Timberwolves. Well, we just didn't try as hard as the other team. I don't know if, I don't think it was an effort level. It was just Florida put the clamps down defensively on Auburn to start that. They went on a 9-0 run, tied it up, and then was back and forth, and Florida ended up winning at the end. The next game, Houston against Duke. I had that $3 bet. Even though all teams were number 1 seeds, the smart money was on Duke. And I, on this very radio station, not only made the bet with Rosa, but I declared Houston will win, and this is why. Cliches are a cliche for a reason, because most of the time they're true. Defense wins championships. Houston has the best defense in basketball, and I will take Houston to win. Number 1 defense against, I think Duke was the number 1 offense. I remember earlier in the week I'd said something like they were 8th. I think I was mistaken. I think Duke was the number 1 offense in all of college basketball. If not, they were certainly top 2, 3, 5. Tennessee, this almost seems impossible. Duke only had 1 field goal in the last 10 minutes of the game. 10 minutes of the game, clock time. 10 minutes, only had 1 field goal. They had a handful of free throws, but only 10 minutes. The defense was swarming. They would switch. They would double. They would deny players the basketball. They were down, and I wish I had the numbers in front of me. I have them in stories here, but that's just not my cup of tea. I think there was 3 minutes left, and they were down like 13, 14 points. I mean, at that point, that game's over, right? In most cases, 99 out of 100 times, a team up in college basketball by 13 or 14 points with 3 minutes is going to win that game. They're going to hang on. They only need to just trade baskets just for a couple of possessions, milk the clock a little bit, and the next thing you know, they're going on to the Final Four, and they were unable to do that. Cooper Flagg is, these are clickbait stories, I think. Cooper Flagg, that was the first time I've ever watched him in a basketball game start to finish. I can see, he didn't turn 18 till like December. He's the best college. He won the Associated Press College Basketball Player of the Year. I can see why. He can do everything. He can shoot. He can pass. He can rebound. He can play defense. He's a remarkable basketball player. He will be the first pick apparently in the upcoming National Basketball Association draft. He missed the final shot. They set up a shot for him. They called a timeout. Houston made this valiant rally. The kid that was responsible for guarding was like a 6-year senior, and I think he was only like a 60-some% free throw shooter, and he made them both on the front end. Gave him like I think was it a 3-point lead? Or were they leading by 3? I think maybe it was just 2. It must have been 2 because maybe it was 1. Because I know that Flagg took a shot inside the 3-point circle, and that would have would have tied the game. Maybe it would. I don't recall. All I know is he missed it. It went off the front edge. And there were people that were calling what Duke did a choke because of the only scoring 10 points in the last or scoring only 1 basket in the last 10 minutes. I just think Houston's defense was so strong and so good. I don't know if I would call it a choke. I would just say they just weren't able to get a lot of looks. A lot of good looks. Houston is just remarkable. Plus, they have good guard play. And I never thought it was, I thought it was over. I mean, Houston had a lead like 6-5 or something like that, and then they never led until the very end of the game again. Duke had the lead the entire time. It didn't matter how they would whittle it down to like 9. I think they got it inside 9 once or twice, and then Duke would go on a run again. And then that last 10 minutes, it all changed. And I like Houston mostly because if Houston wins tonight, I win $200 in the KFAN pool. Dylan, who does the pool, he's got, if Houston wins, he wins first place. The guy that put the bracket together.
Oh, funny.
Isn't that funny how that works? I wonder if anybody got to look at his...
suspicious there, huh?
Yeah, do you think anybody got to look at his bracket? The best part is, the money had to be in by 11 o'clock on the
Thursday,
Thursday. I walked in and handed him my money and my brackets, and then the time on his computer said 11 o'clock. I was 30 seconds to a minute away of not being able to be ineligible. And now, of course, with my luck, Florida will win the game. But I just...
How much would Dylan win?
I don't know if that's maybe it's a 500. It's a pretty good chunk of change, I think. Isn't that funny? There was another... Here's what else I saw about Florida. Can I blow my own horn with the esoteric approach again? If you'll remember, I suggested that the soon-to-be big-game world champion Minnesota Vikings should have signed 4 or 5 stud running backs, the best free agents in the league, and then just started this new thing where you put guys in and out, in and out, in and out. Derrick Henry's going to get 6 carries a game. Saquon's going to get 5 or 6. A couple of other guys, Joe Mixon, whatever, get 5 or 6. I was mocked and ridiculed. You and many others. I don't think I had. I think I had a couple of other people. I did. Why is the program director in the studio in the master control?
Maybe he wants to give leadership.
Wanted to talk to Tenna.
We're doing a radio show. I need his attention. I'm talking to him right now.
Can I just ask you a question?
Yeah.
Somebody that doesn't like to toot their own horn?
Yeah.
Did you just say you might win second place in the pool?
Yeah.
How do you know that?
Well, because I talked to Dylan about it.
But I mean, how do you know where you stand in the rankings for the...
It never stops that he does it. A buddy of mine was searching the World Wide Web. He went to KFAN.com. He found our brackets. He started looking at them. He saw that I was entered. He added up my point total, and he noticed that it was off by a couple of points. And so...
I also think that Duke-Houston game Saturday night, you were sleeping, and then you kind of had like a little bit of a stomach bug that woke you up in the middle of that one.
This never stops. Why do you guys have all these inside jokes all the time? My stomach hurt. Woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Of course you did. Now, where was I? I was blowing my own horn. So then...
You need to be more specific.
Well, then I had and I got mocked and ridiculed, and everybody laughed at me for suggesting the Vikings should have signed 4 or 5 big-name running backs. The combined total of their contracts would have been about what you pay for a quarterback, and turn into more of a, mix a running game with a passing game and a multi-dimensional running game where you have different styles of running backs, and they stay fresher when they don't carry the ball as often. Then recently, a couple of other stories came up where, who is the defensive... I forget my own... Was it Washington? Was it a defensive lineman for Washington, or was it San Francisco who said he liked bringing in other pass rushers so they could just rotate and keep fresh? He didn't care if he was the guy that got 10, 12, 15 sacks. The more guys we have, the fresher we stay. There's no I in team, right? Because that was one of the pushbacks to me about my theory was you'll never get a running back to do that because he wants to be the man. His ego's too big. He wants to carry it 20, 25 times a game because he's playing for his next contract, et cetera, which I understand, but most of these guys have already made the big money, and I really think most people, if you go up into them and say, I'll pay you the same amount of money that I would to work 100% of the time, and I'll give you that same amount of money if you're going to play 30, if you're going to work 33% of the time, I think most people would take that. Then there was a little feature with Tom Izzo. He told his players on the team, he said, we're going to do a rotation of 10 people. We're not going to just lean on it. Everybody was all in on it. Here's the latest, Tennessee. This is from Florida. Story about the Florida team. How it works. Doubling down on a double big lineup has been outstanding. The Gators' quartet of big men have willingly embraced playing fewer minutes because they can wear the opposing big fellas down with waves of physicality. 4 guys that were recruited by Florida that I'm sure would like to be the man, big man on campus. Look at me playing, college basketball game is 40 minutes, right? Playing 38 minutes a game, dominating down in the low post, hitting them from the outside, blocking shots, playing defense. They all willingly said, let's split the time 4 ways. Wonder if that's worked for Florida. They're in the national championship game. So again, the reason I bring this up is I just like to see that there are coaches, organizations, whether they're pro, college, whatever the case may be, that are able to think outside that box every once in a while and say, you know what? Let's do it this way. Instead of doing it the way everybody says we're supposed to. It's the Denny Green soundbite we play all the time. But this has obviously worked for Florida, and their big men are very good, and they come in waves, and they're always refreshed. They're ready to play. It's more difficult to wear them out. They were even talking about that in the they were saying the Duke players were getting tired there at the end of the game because they were having to work so hard to try to score points. They weren't even able to score points. They had the one basket in the last 10 minutes. And I think Auburn coach even at one point talked about how his team was getting tuckered a little bit too. When you have a shorter bench, man, you guys, and some schools don't have an option, right? They don't have a deep bench. But the deeper the bench you have, and when you set that tone early in the year and say, I've got 4 big men, you're all going to play, and they all said, sounds good to me. Of course, what are they going to say? I mean, I guess they could say, I don't want to play here. I would think as they were recruited, there was a method to the madness before they signed where the coach, the 4 guys together, what are you doing here? I'm the big man on this team. No, I'm the big man. No, I'm the big, they had 4 of them, but it worked out great. So I think tonight's got an opportunity to be just a terrific game because Florida can score, and they've got the best. That they were I'd never heard. I think his name is Clayton.
Walter
Clayton.
Walter Clayton Jr., isn't it?
This kid's fearless, and he's a guard. He's not a big kid, but he can shoot from the outside. He takes it to the basket. He plays defense. I mean, I'm assuming if they win tonight, he'll be the outstanding.
Yeah. Well, I saw a stat that blew my mind. He scored 34 in that game.
Yeah.
It was the most by a player in a Final Four win since 1981. How is that possible? We haven't had someone go over 34.
Yeah, you're right.
44 years.
44 years.
You would have thought someone would have gone on a heater, but
no.
Still.
But it was, so it was 2 real entertaining games, though you had to stick with, I mean, generally speaking, with just the way as good as Houston's defense has been all season, they had been holding, what was the stat they had where I think it was either how many points Duke averaged. It was like, there was still like 8 or 9 minutes to go in the game, and Duke was already 2 there, on pace to get to that, averaging like 78 points or whatever it was. And then that defense just switched, and it was really good. And I think tonight could be a lot of fun.
What did you think on the call on Cooper Flag? I mean, how do you call that?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that wasn't a foul.
No,
there's no chance it was a foul. And it was huge in the game because the guy, they were able to.
It was a 1-point game at the time.
They got to knock down the 2 fields. There were several calls, and that's why I've said this before too. And I don't dislike basketball. My boy played it from 3rd grade through a senior year. I've seen hundreds of basketball games in person and loved them all. I like the sport of basketball. But the sport of basketball, you've heard me say that, if you've heard me say this once, you've heard me say it 13, 14 times. It's because it's such a hard game to officiate. There were at least, and this is every game, I'm not picking on this officiating crew, they missed at least 4 or 5 calls. At least, if not more. And I think that happens in every basket because it's just hard to see. There was a clean block that was called a foul. There was another time where there was it wasn't a clean block. There was definitely contact on the hand. A guy was going up by the rim to do a slam, and he was not. It was clearly a foul, wasn't called. And you're not going to see them all, but that's where, yeah, I mean, that call itself loomed large, especially when they happen. I mean, a bad call in the first half just doesn't seem to have as much impact, at least you don't feel it does, as the ones late in the game. And that one, that was not a foul. There was no question that was not a foul. And that was obviously could have changed the outcome of the game, and I think it probably would have. But and then how about your gal
Paige Beckers?
Paige Beckers
Got emotional.
Very emotional.
Giving Gino the hug on the way off the court. After all she's been through the last couple of years.
Yeah, is she done now?
Yeah, I think she's entering the WNBA draft, yes. She's expected to go number 1, I thought I heard.
Is she a senior, or is she just leaving early?
I think she's a senior. Well, like I said, she's had 2 years that were gone due to injury, so.
I'd read a story before the championship game yesterday. Matter of fact, I was watching some golf, and I said, now I'll turn to the basketball game, because the championship was yesterday. It was UConn against South Carolina. I get there's like a 40-point lead, so I didn't even bother watching. I thought it was going to be I thought this was going to be one of those like we saw with Flo Rida in Auburn, but it wasn't. It was a blowout. But the stories leading up to the championship game was the one thing missing from Paige's resume, right? She'd never won a championship. And the quote was something, "We'll leave my legacy up to others, whatever they think." But she got that championship. And from what I understand, she scored 17 points, but it wasn't one of those dominating games that we're used to. She wasn't the main reason they won, so it wasn't one of her statistically better games. But nonetheless, it's a team game, and she's had a great career. So she gets her natty, which I think was important to her.
I hadn't realized either that. I know UConn hadn't been the same dominant UConn, but it had been 9 years since they'd won a title.
Really?
Which surprises me.
Yeah, I didn't know it had been that long.
Dominant they've been in women's college basketball over the years. But
so,
Gino's back on top.
Good for her. Or good for him.
Good for him and for Paige as well.
So, will you watch tonight's game?
No.
No.
I already have other plans.
Yeah.
I would if I was available.
Yeah. Old man hockey?
No, that's Wednesday nights.
That's Wednesday nights. How's that going for you in your club? Do you guys keep standings and stuff, or do you just get together?
It switches every 3 months. So basically every 3 months is a new season. So this coming week will be at the beginning of a new season. So I think we play 9 regular season games, and you play 2 playoff games.
Really?
And then once that's over, you get into a new, it's basically every quarter of the year. And then you're on a team where I'm now teammates with guys I was just playing against for the past 3 months. So helps keep the league friendly. So there's free agency even in old man hockey. I don't know if I call it free agency, but yes, you play with different teammates.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever won the championship?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I've been in the league for 8-9 years, and there's 4 leagues every single year. So I mean, I've probably been in 30, 35 actual seasons. Do you have as many goals as Ovi? No, definitely not. Where do you think you stand on the all-time goals list in your leagues? Not very high. No, I'm a defensive defenseman. You're a defensive defenseman. I would like to say I'm very Brock Faber-like. Probably. Actually, you said the right one. Actually, probably more Jake Middleton-like. Actually, yeah. He's left-handed and he's kind of big O. I was going to say more Bill Bates guy-like, because I've seen him play defense in hockey before too. Somebody sent me some pictures. I told you we were doing the old, putting the old band back together to play boot, and then somebody sent out a bunch. We had pictures from the old days. Somebody had a camera. Must have been a cell phone. I don't know. But it had pictures of us playing on World's Pond in his backyard over there over in White Bear Lake. It was emotional for all of us to see those pictures again, with me between the pipes and everything like that. Hour number 1 in the books. We will, there's plenty still.
we're just getting started. We're barely scratching the surface here in the world of sports your whole life, just sports. Other side of the break, Tenna B will he'll grill me with a number of questions. 5-3-4, and he's got a tease, I would believe.
Yeah, we got a bad loss at Target Field, but also two teams in the playoff chases, Wild and Wolves.
Something unexpected happened after Jeremy Scott confessed to killing Michelle Schofield in Bone Valley Season 1.
Every time I hear about my dad, it's, oh, he's a killer. He's just straight evil.
I was becoming the bridge between Jeremy Scott and the son he'd never known.
At the end of the day, I'm literally a son of a killer.
Listen to new episodes of Bone Valley Season 2 starting April 9th on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.